Thank you for joining us for an oral history interview for the museum exhibit, A Better Life for Their Children, Julius Rosenwald, Booker T. Washington, and the 4,978 Schools That Changed America. Please state your name and the school that you attended.
MaryAnne Fletcher. I attended the Bena-Hayes School in Hayes, Virginia, in Bena, Virginia.
Thank you. So we like to get a little bit of background about our narrators. Could you please tell us about your family, your mom and dad, any siblings that you had?
My mother's name is Laura Ellen Carter Jackson, and she was born in Middlesex County. And my father was Abraham Lincoln Jackson, the first, maybe second. And I have three brothers: Abraham L. Jackson, Randolph L. Jackson, Leon Jackson, and Rudolph. In between that, probably my mom had a twin. Randolph had a twin, so when Rudolph was born, when the next boy was born, she named him Rudolph. And there are four of us: Laura Ellen Jackson, MaryAnne Jackson, Shirley Jackson, and MaryAnne Jackson. So it's four girls, three boys.
Can you tell us any special memories that you have about your childhood?
Well, as coming up from about maybe 4, I recall that as the others were born, like my sister Shirley was born, I remember I had to take care of her and, hold her and all. We had a wood stove, and I do recall on the wood stove, and I had that responsibility of trying to take care of her and do something else. She slipped out of my lap and fell by the stove, and my mom didn't like that, and she punished me, but I did take care of her. And then Rudolph and Marion. So we had the responsibility of taking care of our siblings as they were born.
So among your siblings, were you the oldest or in the middle or the last?
The oldest was Abraham L. Jackson, and I think now he'll be 92 years old. I was Abraham, Randolph, Laura, then me. So I was the fourth in line.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias.
So first, could you tell me, what was a typical day like attending the Bena-Hayes School?
Well, we caught the bus. We walked from our house to the end of the street to a place called, his store was Jack Jones, and that's where we caught the bus. We arrived at school, I don't know what time it was, but probably 8 o'clock or 9. And once we get to school, we had the choice. With various people, we had various choices. We had to go out in the coal house, get some coal, bring it in the school and make fire. But while I was out in the coal house, I thought I'd play around a little bit. I didn't think coal was that black that it would get all over you and smut. So I played around with it. Then it was too much, the bucket was too heavy. I thought I would sit down on the bucket and rest a while. So when we get up, we always pull our dress up, and so you won't get your clothes messed up. But the underpants got really black, so I come into school, I was smutty black. I smut all over. Then you wipe your face and all. So during the day, you were smutty-doo, And we had to make the fire. And our choices was that day. Every day someone else had the various things to do. And then, of course, we had lunch. We carried biscuit, whatever my mom put in our lunch. Well, there was 2 guys at school named Harry Stokes and Jimmy Stokes. They would make fun of us because their parents, they were brighter children too, brighter skinned children, and their parents was much little better than my parents, and they would tease me about our food. So I decided, don't be a bully. At that young age, the next day they brought their nice sandwiches to school, and I brought that biscuit, which was better. I took their sandwich and gave them half of the biscuit, and they stopped teasing me about that one. So that's it for that.
Would you get in trouble by the teacher for being
No,
dirty?
because the teacher never knew. If they would tell her, I'd take the whole lunch. So it was never told. I never heard anything about it.
What about being dirty from the cold? Did the teacher ever say anything to you about coming in the classroom dirty?
She said, "Don't sit down on the cold because you'll be smutty." So I think they gave us something to wipe our hands off, because in school, so once you get into school, you had to put your hands on the desk. You must have a napkin or a handkerchief, and make sure that you're clean and look good. And that was very important, that your personality and your personal hygiene looks so very nice, smell good. And if you didn't, I think they must have had a way of doing things, because there was no running water. We had a pump outside the house, the school. We pumped water. Yeah, it was a pump. And you had to get water like that. But somehow, in some way, we made it. Yes.
Do you remember what year did you begin attending the Bena-Hayes?
1947.
Okay. And where were your bathroom facilities?
Outside was an outside pivot. It's called a toilet, and it had 2 seats and a flap down to keep the flies and all that kind of stuff buzzing around you when you're sitting on the pivot in the commode, and you could hear the flies. It's funny, you could hear the flies buzzing around you, and I don't know. Sometimes if they ran out of tissue paper, you have to use whatever there was, like newspaper. You rub it together, make it soft. You wipe your bahunkers with that. It's not bahunkers. It's wipe your butt with that.
Do you have any memories, special memories of a specific teacher that you had?
Mrs. Wolf, Mrs. Wolf, and maybe Miss Louise Stokes, Miss Louise Dadney. Her name was Stokes. I think her name was Louise Stokes. And Miss Jacqueline Forster. Yes.
And do you remember in school, how was discipline handled?
Very nice. Anything you wanted, you must raise hand for that. You don't speak out of turn. You must be very disciplined. That word. Some words we cannot pronounce so very well now. I'm in speech therapy for some words, so some of the words we can't pronounce. But you had to be very obedient in school and listen. No clowning around. It's time to learn.
And if you did misbehave in school, did they spank?
I think they made us stand up at the board or in the corner, or I think that's what they think they did.
Do you remember starting out the school day saying an oath, a pledge of allegiance?
Yes. Every morning I would say, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." And we sang, "Holy, holy, holy." Sing, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty. Early in the morning the sun shall rise to thee. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. God in 3 persons, blessed Trinity."
But were there any responsibilities that you had to perform while you were going for school? Different responsibilities maybe for the girls than the boys? Were the boys given chores to bring the coal in? Or?
They had I had a choice, maybe one day me and a group, and the next day another group like that. That's how we kept the fire going all day. Yes.
And then you touched on lunch. You said that the children, you each brought your own lunch?
We had to bring our own lunch. Whatever your parents had, that's what you brought to school. And we were glad. Those biscuits was very nice.
Okay.
Peanut butter and jelly is one of them, that's for sure.
Okay.
And it survived.
Tell me about some of the extracurricular activities that you had. Did you have any type of carnival, school carnival, maybe May Day?
Not at Bena-Hayes, but we went outside. There was I call it a monkey bar. And a monkey bar is but the width of this building, and you could climb that. I could really climb a monkey bar. I had a lot of strength from one end to the other. I always made A's in things that I did.
Okay, good. So, do you remember anything about the materials, the books that you used in school? Could you describe those for us?
The only book that I know and remember is that Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pan of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came running after. And there was a little folder book. I love that book. I would like to find one of those books and read. And at the early age, I could read very well at an early age, like about 3, or maybe like 2. I knew how to pronounce words and get them in syllables so you can pronounce like total, only 2 syllables, total. Yeah, you must learn. And that helped us. I don't know what other book that we had, but I sure would like to find one of those books of Jack and Jill. Maybe in an old library we can find.
So you have a special story about braiding your hair?
Yes. My sister Laura used to do our hair because she was older, and she put like lots of little teeny, I call them knots on your hair, like about 20 of them, and then put a comb in your hair. And we had clothespin. So my hair was long, so we put clothespins on each braid of the hair. And I didn't like it so much, so I took my hair loose and made myself a fro. And I could plait hair too. So I would go back home. I would have less braids, but I could braid my hair before I left school, similar to what my sister did, but less, and look better.
So was that a common thing that you and your girlfriends would do, is change your hair for school?
Yes, definitely. I like that.
Okay.
And clothes. We only had 2 skirts. Everything was 2. 2 skirts, 2 pair of panties, everything in 2s. And you come home, you took those clothes off, and you had a pair of jeans. We wore jeans. Put them on, you did not stay in your regular clothes. And the thing I did not like, because I had another sister, Shirley, we could wear clothes the same size. I wear the skirt to school on Monday. Tuesday, she would have to wear it. I didn't like that. So I hid my clothes under my bed. My 2 skirts I kept myself. I did not like. I was being bullied at home. And then my mom would say something, and I told my mom, I didn't like what she said, so I don't think I said a nice word to my mom, but in a pleasant way, smiling.
So the academic year, you said, started in about August. What month did you guys get out of school in the summer?
June.
June was the last month that you
Yes.
attended for the academic year? Okay. So you attended from August to June?
Right.
Okay.
And then, because the school was only like 3, maybe 1 grade, first, second, third, we were transferred from that school to a school called T.C. Walker. And from T.C. Walker, that's when, maybe in the 50s, 1950, we went to T.C. Walker. And my teacher then was Miss Willis, Miss Jackson, teachers through the years. Miss Willis, Miss Jackson, Miss Granison, Miss Johnson, Miss Ethel Graham, Miss Helena Brown, Miss Bernice Thomas, Robert, I don't know Robert's name. He was a science teacher. Mr. Armstrong, Miss A.R. Turner. I don't know her maiden name before Turner. And a few more that I can't remember. But those are the years I went through school in 12th grade. And I don't remember really too much of graduation because at time I had asthma. I was asthmatic. But I play a lot so I wouldn't have to do a lot of things. And the teachers took a lot of sympathy from me. So Miss A.R. Turner had me to stay with her so she could help ease the load for my mom. And she said two things. You come with nothing, you take nothing, you leave nothing. Just what you come with, keep your hands to yourself and be obedient. And I did just that. I think it was a very obedient a child coming up. I like that. I like being obedient now. I'm obedience looking at you directly, but I see a little bit of my girl over there.
So in thinking of your life after you left school, what was your path when you finished school?
Pardon me?
What was your path after you left school? Did you go to higher education or start a family?
No, when I left graduate from school, I went out to work at a bakery in Gloucester County, and her name was Lucia Madison, and her bakery was on the right-hand side in Gloucester, not too far from me, where I could ride a bicycle from my house to her bakery and 6 o'clock in the morning. Those years you didn't have to worry about nobody bothering you and all like that. People mind their own business and look out for you. And I learned a lot from the bakery. That's to help my mom out and things, and it was really nice to make the money, that little bit of money, and give it to my parents. I kept something like a couple of dollars would take you a long ways, and help your parents out, and that was nice to help the remaining of the family to do things. I think that was really nice. And in the flour bakery, one day I went and I wasn't being disciplined or listening, and Miss Madison, Lucia Madison, say, reach down real low and get me another cup of flour. So I said to myself, I'm tired of this reaching down. So I reached down real low and I almost fell into the flour bucket. It come up with all that flour all over my face. And she said, that was not funny. I said, you're right. I took the smile off my face so I could keep my job.
Do you remember any experiences in your community? The racial tension around the school being built or anything that happened during that time because of segregation?
We knew nothing about, we didn't talk about segregation. It was only a black school to begin with. So there was only us blacks to begin with. There were different color of us. Some of us was light, some was dark. And it didn't matter to me because I thought the darkest of the person looked better than the brightest of the people. But I knew about different color of people, but not talk to our parents about it. Because I remember there was a store called White Marsh, or whatever the stores was there, and there was a couple of guys in the meat counter, especially. I had a way of communicating with people in a way that could pass you over to help my mom out. In the store, this guy was white. He was behind the counter cutting meat and all. And I know Mom couldn't afford it, so being kind, I would go in there and he said, "You like me?" And I like him. I never told my mom. And he used to give me cuts of meat like a whole lot for our family, where the average person didn't get it because you know why? You didn't speak up. And he would say, maybe it's race, but he said, keep it to yourself for a while. And when one day I told my mom, she said, well, don't be going with this guy. I said, no way. But guess what? Yeah, he liked me. He said I was cute. I said he was cute.
In thinking back to the education that you received at the time, what did you think about the education you received at the Bena-Hayes school, and what do you think about that education now, when you look back on it?
Looking back over my life at Bena-Hayes school, that education that we learned, the words and spelling and reading and writing and arithmetic. Very nice. And as I went to the T.C. Walker School, I accomplished more in school, learning we learned in the younger days how to add and subtract. Like right now, 2022 minus 160 is 1862. I knew how to add and subtract. And I could add and subtract without fingers. It came to me naturally. Big numbers. Only thing I didn't understand a lot is algebra. I never could conquer algebra, and I told my teacher, Miss Granison was that teacher, and I told her I'd not understand, so give me homework every day, just give me two, learn two at a time. Oh, Miss Anne Gregory of the Wagon Wheel was that algebra teacher too. I remember Anne Gregory of Leon Gregory, because recently we had a memory, something to recognize the black person in the county that was an inspiration to us in the county, and that was Leon Gregory and Anne Gregory, because Leon Gregory owned a tavern, a cleaners, a wagon wheel, which gave dances, and I worked in the wagon wheel. I was a very, is the word ambitious person? Ambitious person. I'm always willing to strive to reach the goal, to reach my goal. I like my journey through life.
When you were going to school, do you remember how important it was for you and your siblings to go to school? Like if you got up one morning and said, "I don't feel like going to school, Mom or Dad," did your parents really put a huge emphasis on you and your siblings getting an education?
Yes, very, very specific. We were all pretty healthy, and we did not want to miss a day in school. We want to keep learning, and staying at home was not going to learn us anything. But when you go to school, make sure you accomplish what the teacher have taught you. Bring it back home, and the first thing you do when you get back home, take your clothes off, eat your lunch or whatever, very nice dinner, and go in your room and read. And we had no electricity. We read by a lamp. You did your reading, and if I could read and the others couldn't read, we helped each other. Education was very important.
What do you think of the efforts to collect the memories and legacies of the students who attended the Rosenwald, Washington schools?
So,
how do you feel about what they're doing to restore this building and to recognize the men that started the Rosenwald School?
I think it's very important. I am really impressed about what's going on here in Gloucester County. Is it renovation or remodeling or remembrance of this school that James and Edith Stubbs had, and you choose to keep this school going? I think it's very important. My age, maybe we remember. This young generation, I don't think they're interested in nothing at all. And when I tell them about looking back over your life, a well-spent journey, I think this is who Mr. Wilson and the colleagues that has tried to keep this building going, I think it's very important. And I want to play a part in it. And it's not much of money, but money a little bit will help. I want to give at least $10 a month, at least $100 a year, and doing something, if it's no more than buying some paint for the school, whatever needs to be done, some deodorant for the bathrooms and things like that. I want a job here at the school. Yes. And anything you'd like for me to do here at this Rosenwald School, I will do.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
Before we end, is there anything that you would like to add to this interview that we did not ask?
I thank God for the time that I've been here and the colleagues, you all impressing me, getting me out of my zone and doing something to encourage not only me, the young generation and generation on, to you never know what it is until you walked in my shoes. And may God bless you all and have a smile upon you. I've enjoyed myself this day, the 24th of January, 2024.
Thank you so much for joining us for an oral history interview. We appreciate your
Gracias.
time.